Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking today about parallel lines and transversals. And we're going to develop some new types of angle pairs that are useful to help us solve for different angles and some of the diagrams. So just to kind of get started, we're going to define parallel, perpendicular, and skew. These are the basic concepts and constructs that you are going to see in this unit. So parallel lines are two lines that do not intersect in the same plane. So what I mean by this is that the lines have to be in the same plane. Perpendicular lines are two lines that intersect. At a 90-degree angle. So we could have something like that. So note, you can have parallel and perpendicular planes as well. And then skew is two lines that don't intersect, that are not on the same plane. And what I mean by that, it's a little hard to draw the 3D diagram. So here's a plane, and then here's kind of a plane above it. And if you kind of imagine like two pieces of paper on top of each other, the two lines do not intersect each other, but they are on completely different planes. All right, your first type of delta math exercise today is just going to be kind of reading the diagrams and naming. So this is a right rectangular prism, and it's asking us for two segments drawn in the diagram that are parallel to each other. And you can choose any two segments that are parallel. I'm just going to kind of use my highlighter, and I'm just going to choose two that look parallel to each other. So maybe I'll do these two. So I'll have GH and JI. And if you want to, you can try to draw the cube, or you could just take a screenshot as well. And you're just going to be reading the diagram. I suggest kind of using some highlighting and color marking to help you visualize the concepts. All right, example 2. This is a right rectangular prism. All angles are measuring 90 degrees. Name two planes that are perpendicular to each other. Now remember, planes are named with 3 points. So let's do a little coloring here, just to kind of visualize. So I'm going to maybe look at this front plane. So here we go. Maybe I'll do green. And then maybe I'll do blue from the perpendicular plane. So these planes kind of intersect each other at a 90-degree angle. So I'm just going to name them. The blue plane, I just need 3 points. So maybe I'll call that OST. And the green plane is also 3 points. So maybe I'll call that NRS. And you could choose, any planes that are perpendicular, and Delta Math will mark you correct. So this is skill 3.1. This is all what skill 3.1 is. It should move pretty quick. So just get some practice reading the diagrams. All right. Where we are going to really dive in today are the different types of angle pairs that we are going to develop with parallel lines. So the diagrams that we are looking at are called parallel lines and transversals. So this line is called a transversal. And then these two lines are parallel to each other. All right, the first type of angle pair is the alternate interior angles. So what this means is that you have, excuse me for a second, two angles that are inside the parallel lines, and they're on the alternate side of the transversal. So you're just going to set the angles equal to each other. All right, and then the alternate exterior angles, what this means is that you are on the alternate side of the transversal, but you are outside of the parallel lines. And like the alternate interior, you're going to set the angles equal to each other. The corresponding angles, these are kind of like, so this intersection here, this is kind of like the top left of the intersection. And then I'm going to go down here to like this intersection, and I'm going to choose the top left. So that would be corresponding. And this is also set the angles equal to each other. And then the same side interiors, this is not equal to each other, but these add to 180. Now, same side interiors do come up. So like if we have a parallelogram, for instance, we could actually say that like the two angles that are on the same side are same side interiors. So this is where you're going to kind of see same side interiors manifest itself. They're also called consecutive angles as well. So you'll see that some textbooks call them consecutive. So let's actually see some of these in action. All right. The angle pairs that you ought to know now are linear pair and vertical pair from unit 1. And then the 4 that we are learning today: alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, and same side interior. So these are fair game in the problems that you're going to see today. All right, so your basic examples are not going to have very much algebra. In the really basic ones, it's pretty obvious what the angle pair is going to be. So tip, write your angle pairs. So I have alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, same side, and I have vertical and linear. And you can use any of these or any combination of these as well. So one thing that I notice here is I am inside the parallel lines and I'm on the alternate side of the transversal. So therefore, these are alternate interior. And if you look at that vocab word and what it tells you to do, we have 27 equals to X. And that is our answer. So it makes sense because, this is acute and that's acute as well. And this is only true, and we can only do this stuff. The lines have to be parallel. So M has to be parallel to N. All right, let's go up a level here with the geometry, but not the algebra. So here, I do not know my angle pair. So I see that this is definitely not an alternate interior. It's definitely not an alternate exterior because it's kind of like on the same side as the exterior. It's not corresponding because I'm on top right on the top corner and then bottom right on the lower one. And it's not same side interior because we're not inside. So we may have to use like a vertical angle or a linear pair. I like my vertical angles. So the good news is if you cannot find the angle that they are asking for, make sure that you solve for angles that are easier to solve for. So I think personally, one of the easiest angles to solve for in this one is a vertical angle. And I'm just going to kind of make note there that that is a vertical angle. And likewise, here, I have the X. So this also has to be X right there, since these are vertical angles. And then now I have an obtuse angle and an acute angle. So these are same side interior. So this is going to be 68 plus X equals to 180. So I'm going to subtract 68 on both sides. So I'm going to get that X is equal to 102 degrees. Now, if you wanted to, you could also use things like linear pairs as well. So I could actually see here that this is 102. That would have to be 102. And I could even kind of like use alternate interiors as well. So some people even like to figure out what all the angles are numerically and then just answer the question after that. All right, let's go into some algebra here. This one is a little bit more obvious what the angle pair is. So this is a alternate interior angle. And alternate interior angles are congruent, so we set them equal to each other. So I'm going to do 7x minus 4 equals to 3x plus 28. And I'm just going to subtract 3x. Add 4 to both sides. So I'm going to get 4x is equal to 32. And it's just asking for x, but if it did ask you for like a particular angle, you could plug that x back in and check your work. All right, let's do one more. That's not an obvious angle pair. So this angle pair, we don't know for sure what the angle pair is with the way that it's written. But one thing that we could do just to make things a little easier here, if this is x plus 18, I could use vertical angles. And I could say that this is x plus 18. And then these are same side interior angles. So I could do x plus 18 plus 5x minus 6 equals to 180. So these add to 180 since they are same side interior. And then now I can just combine like terms. So I'm going to say that 6x plus 12 equals to 180. Subtract 12 on both sides. And divide by 6. And if I go to my calculator, see 168 divided by 6 is 28. So these problems, you kind of learn some new angle pairs that you can add to the toolkit. And it's also going to reinforce your vertical angles and linear pairs as well. And you can use all of those. So just to recap, the angle pairs that you ought to know are linear pair. So that's where, you kind of have that straight line. So any two angles that make a straight line are a linear pair. The vertical angles, so these are things where you hop across the vertex. That's why they're called vertical angles. The alternate interiors, these are between the parallel lines. The alternate and on the opposite sides of a transversal. The alternate exterior is on the opposite sides of a transversal, but outside of the parallel lines. The corresponding angles are kind of in like the same like relative location to the intersection. And then same side interior. This is where, the two angles are different, but add to 180. And you're welcome to use this Pictionary as well.